Hi, everybody. How you doing? Hope everybody is safe and well and healthy and that everything is going okay. Let's get to our work for today. I gave you homework consisting of 8 sentences that I pulled from your essays, and I asked you to rewrite them. We're going to look at the first 4 today. We'll look at the next 4 on Monday. All right? So we're going to talk about proper sentence construction and avoiding awkward sentence construction. Why do we English teachers bug you about this stuff? Is it because we are mean and we want to torture you with lots of homework? Yes. But beyond that, it's because you have one job in writing your essay, and that job is to convey your thesis to the reader. If you do not have clear, properly constructed sentences, the reader cannot receive your thesis. We can't get your thesis unless you're expressing it in clear, correct sentences. I've said this before in previous classes. Reading is like a vivid and continuous dream, right? You've all had dreams, you know what that's like. You've all had reading experiences in which the words and the letters and words and sentences on the page or the screen disappear, and what forms in your mind are the ideas and the images and the sights and the sounds and the places and the people that the words are representing, right? And you notice that something different is happening other than just reading symbols on a page. This dreamlike state has taken over. And like a dream, when you are snapped out of it, it's very hard to get back into, right? You ever have that experience where you wake up in the morning and you were in the middle of a dream and it was, might have been a pleasant dream and you want to continue it. You can't make yourself fall asleep and get back into that dream. Even if you're able to go back to sleep, you can't make yourself go back into that dream. It's the same way with reading. If you succeed in getting your reader into that vivid dreamlike state and you startle them out of it by having a poorly constructed sentence and they have to stop and they go, what's that? And they have to read it again. They have to read it a third time to try to figure out what you were trying to convey. It's not going to work. They can't get back into that dreamlike state of reading your essay to get your thesis. I had an instructor once who used to say that a reader is like a bird sitting on the branch of a tree. And once you startle that bird and it flies away, you will never get it to come back and sit on that same spot on the branch ever again. So you do not want to startle that reader. You don't want to wake that reader up from that dream state. Why? Because your reader is your instructor, okay? And if you startle that reader out of that dreamlike state enough times, it's going to hurt your grade, because the instructor will not have gotten your thesis and your paper will not have accomplished what you set out to accomplish, your one job, and that's going to hurt your grade. All right? That's why we are trying to teach you how to write good quality sentences that will convey what you mean. Now, what exactly is a sentence? Right? But let's actually figure out exactly what it is. And I'm reading this backwards on my screen because it's showing up backwards as I look at it. A sentence is a grammatically correct group of words containing a subject and a predicate that conveys a single thought. We have talked about a paragraph conveying a single idea, an idea that may have some complexity to it that you can delve into, that you can explain, that you can support with argument or fact or examples, right? The sentences are what make up the single thoughts, the individual thoughts, okay? Now, I mentioned that it contains a subject and a predicate. I'm sure you're all familiar. You've heard those terms before, but let's just review what they are. The subject is I think, clear enough. The subject is the thing that the sentence is about. The predicate, and again, I'm reading this backwards, a predicate is the part of a sentence containing a verb and stating something about the subject, all right? So your sentences have to contain a subject and a verb. Do authors use sentence fragments and single words in their essays to convey thoughts? Yes. But if you're going to break a rule, you need to know the rule first, and then you need to know how to break it properly. So for our discussion, a sentence is that grammatically correct group of words containing the subject and a predicate conveying a single thought. All right? So let's go over the first 4 sentences on that Google Docs document that I invited you to share. If you want to open that up now and put me in the YouTube thing up in the corner, that's fine. You can read along as we do this. What I'm going to do is we'll go through each example and we'll talk about what's problematic with it, and then we'll talk about a way where it might be revised. The way you revised it might be different. It doesn't mean that my way is right and your way is wrong. It just means we revise them in different ways. Also, once again, if I took a sentence from one of your essays, it does not mean that you're bad or you're horrible or I'm singling you out. It just means that you made a mistake that is typical of what everybody's making. And again, they're anonymous, so nobody knows who you are unless you tell them. All right, so number 1, the original version reads as, where the woman is shown as a damsel in distress in need of saving by her knight in shining mail armor. The problem with this is that it is incomplete. It's a sentence fragment. It's not a complete sentence. It does not contain a subject and a verb. Some of you might say, well, isn't the woman is the subject and a verb? No, because this is part of the prepositional phrase, the preposition being the word where, so it's not a subject and a verb, right? So this is not a complete sentence. I could not revise this sentence because out of context of the rest of the paper, I wasn't really sure how we would rewrite this one because this sentence fragment seems to be part of the sentence that came before it. This seems to be part of the idea that came before. So in order to revise this sentence, you would need the context in which it came in, because it's only a fragment that should be part of the sentence, probably the sentence before it, maybe the sentence after, but it's only a sentence fragment. So I had trouble revising it as a complete sentence. Okay, number 2. While the male characters are viewed as strong and powerful, female characters are expected to be beautiful, submissive, and depend on finding a man in order to live happily, or I'm sorry, in order to live a happy life. This is kind of the opposite problem for from the first sentence. This should be one sentence. The phrase, while the male characters are viewed as strong and powerful, is not a sentence, so it should not end with a period. This should all be one sentence. And I revised it by writing, while the male characters are viewed as strong and powerful, comma, Female characters are expected to be beautiful, submissive, and dependent upon finding a man in order to live a happy life. That should all be one sentence, all right? While the male characters are viewed as strong and powerful, is a phrase that describes, no, it doesn't really describe female characters. It's a phrase that should be part of the entire sentence, all right? Number 3, with my movie selections, like superheroes, the female plays a less important role, but play an important role in a female's life in real life because a female hero can influence a younger female in today life. I read it exactly as it was written. If I'm an instructor reading that sentence in an essay, which I am, that brings me to a dead halt in that paper because I do not know what the author is trying to write. I literally don't know what thought the author is trying to write to me. This seems to be several different ideas mashed together into one long, grammatically incorrect sentence. And that seems to be something that trips up a lot of writers at your level of experience. I suspect because they're trying to sound as if they're writing a fancy academic sounding sentence. They try to write one long, complex sentence containing a whole bunch of different ideas. You do not have to do that. I don't know what you've been taught. I wish we were in a classroom together so that I can ask you about this, because it always is informative and fascinating to me what teachers tell you to do in earlier grades. Sounding fancy, trying to sound academic does not work in your favor. Trying to sound that way, trying to mimic that language when you don't have mastery over it, does not serve you well. And I know I've discussed this with you before. I've used this example before. It was like if I tried to speak French or Chinese, neither of which I speak, I could mimic the sounds, but to someone who actually speaks French or Chinese, it would sound literally like gibberish. So you don't want to try to mimic fancy, intricate, complicated, academic sounding writing if you don't have mastery of it, because it will sound like gibberish to the people who are fluent in that language, which is your instructors. Here's what does serve you best. And if you have something to write this down on right now, I encourage you to write it down. What serves you best in your essays, until you learn how to write at a more intricate level of writing, what serves you best is clarity. Be as clear and direct as you can. So that means that if you write a draft and you find yourself writing this long, long, complex sentence and you're not sure whether it's correct or not, you think it might sound okay, but you're not positive, break that sentence up into separate ideas. And whenever it's a choice between being fancy or clear, always choose clear. Because remember, you have one job, and that is to convey your thesis as clearly as possible. So the way I broke up this sentence was, which one are we doing? Oh yeah, there it is. The original sentence reads as, With my movies selections like superheroes, the female plays a less important role, but play an important role in a female's life in real life because a female hero can influence a younger female in today's life. I broke that up into, in the movies I've selected, the female's place is less important. However, she may play a more important role in a female viewer's real life because a female hero can influence the life of a young female viewer. I'm going to read that again. I'll try and read it better this time. This is two separate sentences. In the movie I've selected, the female's place is less important, period. However, she may play a more important role in a female viewer's real life because a female hero can influence the life of a young female viewer. That may not be exactly, I hope that was close to what the author intended. If not, if we were in a classroom and I had that sentence up on the screen, we'd be able to tinker with it until it got to exactly what the author meant. But at least in the way that I revised it, it's much clearer. Whereas the original version was incomprehensible, really. Okay, so again, clarity is your best weapon here when composing your individual sentences. Okay, so I'm going to give you your attendance question before we do our last sentence for today. Your attendance question for today is, what is the 10th Amendment to the Bill of Rights? I want to know what the 10th Amendment is. You can tell me what it says, or you can even just copy and paste it. That would be fine. What is the 10th Amendment to the Bill of Rights? Copy and paste and send it to me right there. And I will mark you present for this class. When you're responding to these questions, please do not click reply to all when you click it, or you know, when you do any of these, because then you're sending the answer to the whole class and then it kind of defeats the purpose. All right, so send that to just me at that address. Okay, all right, let's go on to the fourth question. The fourth question, if you're reading along with me, is what I mean by this is that females are often stereotyped as the weak ones in the crowd, or one to be very dependent on other popal. Okay, I'm sorry, author of this sentence, I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at me trying to pronounce the misspelling of that word. We all misspell words. We all do it. I still do it. In fact, when we get to the next thing we're going to talk about, which is individual words and proofreading, we'll talk about what is sometimes called spelling demons. Everybody has words that trip them up. I've been writing for far longer than you've been alive, and I have words that still trip me up. My biggest spelling demon for some reason is throughout. The word throughout, THROUGHOUT. It baffles me for some reason, and every time I use it, I have to stop and make sure I spell it right. Okay, or check in proofreading to make sure I spell it right. So do not be embarrassed that you misspell words. Everybody misspells words. All right. The trick is to catch those words in revision. If you see them highlighted by your word processing program, which you will see in probably Google Docs or Word or whatever program you're using, they usually all now will highlight it. In Word Docs with that red squiggly line underneath it will tell you you've spelt the word wrong. So don't hand it in until you've corrected the spelling of that word. And you know, make sure those are spelled right, because misspelled words will snap a reader out of that dream as well. The first thing, though, that's wrong with this sentence is that if you're writing your draft and you find that in your draft you have written a phrase like, what I mean by this is, or what I'm trying to say is, and more than one of you did it with essay 1, all right? And I think someone did it with essay 2 as well. Not the same author that wrote this sentence, but someone else wrote, I'm trying to say that if in your draft you find yourself using a phrase like what I mean by this is, that means that you recognize that you are not being clear. That means that you know that you have not been clear so far, and you have to re-explain what you mean to the reader. If you have to do that in a draft, that's fine, all right? But in revision, go back and fix what you said in the first place so that you don't have to re-explain it to the reader by telling them what I mean is. The way I rewrote this sentence was, females are often stereotyped as being weak or as being dependent on other people, right? Clear, direct, to the point. Females are often stereotyped as being weak or as being dependent on other people, period. A clear, concise, easy to read sentence. What we're going for here again is clarity. Be as clear as you possibly can. And now, I've had people already asking me, I had people asking me weeks ago, how do I find these things in my draft? That has to do with proofreading, which is going to be the next step in what we're going to talk about when we're done with sentences. So this is what we're going to do going forward. Your essay 3 draft is due on Monday, right? Please have it in on Monday. And I gave you till the end of the day, right? What time did I say? Did I say 5 o'clock? I think I said 5. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I'm giving you till later in the day on Monday. So you're going to have a chunk of Monday to work on it if you have to. Get your essay draft to me. Please have it by, Monday evening, whatever time I said. Because what I'm going to do is, just as I did with your theses, I'm sorry, just as I am about to do with your theses, I realized I hadn't done that yet. I am going to return to you your essay 3 thesis with the comments from your classmates. If you don't get it from me by tonight, by, let's say, noon Wednesday, if you don't get it from me by noon on Wednesday, that means the person I sent it to did not return it to me with comments. Right? So I'm about to return your essay 3 working thesis to you with your feedback from your classmate. Your essay 3 draft is due on Monday. I will then take those drafts and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to send it to one of your classmates who will read it and make comments on it and get it back to you, and then you will do your revision. If you have questions about your working thesis for essay 3 or your revision for essay 3, if you have any questions at all, get in touch with me. I will be happy to talk with you. I will talk with you later today between 2 and 3, if you like. I will talk to you Friday between 2 and 3. If neither of those times work for you, we'll set something else up, okay? I want to give you every opportunity to speak with me about questions that you have about revising essay 3. There will be no video for you to watch on Friday because I screwed up last week and I sent you a video on what was supposed to be the day of reflection. So I'm going to give you this Friday off from our class. Besides, you've got enough work to do. You're revising an essay, right? So you are about to receive back from me your working thesis with your classmates' feedback. If you don't get one, that means the person I sent it to did not return it with feedback. But if you'd like to talk to me, I'd be happy to give you feedback on it, okay? So essay 3 revision, what's wrong with me today? Essay 3 draft is due on Monday, right? Essay 3 draft is due on Monday. There is no video on Friday. If you have questions or problems, and I have not confused you completely by this point, please email me and I'll be happy to talk to you, all right? I apologize that I'm so confused. I'm making this towards the end of the day and my brain's a little mushy. And I have not mastered this technology yet to the point where I can edit it. And we're too deep into this video that I'm not going to go back and start again, believe me. All right. So essay 3 draft due on Monday. No video Friday. Questions or problems? Email me. All right. That's it. Enjoy yourselves. Have a good weekend. There will be another video posted Monday morning. And I'll talk to you soon. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.